Ellis wiped the grease from his hands, the familiar hum of the hangar's atmospheric processors filling the silence of another long shift. The Outer Rim station wasn't glamorous, just a waypoint for cargo haulers and the occasional military vessel, but it was his. 3 decades of scraping together credits had bought him this slice of independence, and he preferred the company of Starship engines to most. Sentience anyway. The sound of the hangar door's emergency override made him freeze. No one used that protocol, ever. Ellis grabbed the plasma wrench from his workbench, not much of a weapon, but it would have to do, and moved toward the entrance. What he found made him lower the tool immediately. A Verith female stood in the doorway, her blue-gray skin pale with exhaustion, her ridge-crusted head bowed. Behind her, 2 small children clung to her tattered robes, couldn't have been more than 4 solar cycles old. The species was unmistakable, Verith, the so-called warrior race that had fought humanity to a standstill 3 decades ago. Before the Treaty of Ganymede, please, she said in heavily accented standard. Sanctuary. Ellis's jaw tightened. Every instinct told him to call station security. The Verith were supposed to stay in their designated sectors, but those children, eyes wide with fear, bodies trembling, they looked at him like he was their last hope. How did you get past security? He asked. I was resourceful. She swayed, and Ellis caught her before she collapsed. The children cried out, rushing to her side. All right, Ellis muttered. Get inside, quickly. He sealed the hangar door and guided them to his small office. The woman Ayla, she said, her name was explained in broken sentences. Her mate, a decorated Verith commander, had been killed in what was officially called an industrial accident. But Ayla knew better. He'd discovered something, she said. Something about the war. Something that powerful people wanted buried. They will come for us, Ayla whispered. Her children pressed against her sides. My mate. He told me if anything happened, find humans. They protect the weak, he said. Even their enemies. Ellis wanted to laugh at the irony. Humans, protectors? They'd been called warmongers, aggressors, the upstart species that refused to bow to the galaxy's established order. But looking at Ayla's desperate face, he understood what her mate had meant. Humans didn't abandon people. Not when it mattered. Stay here, Ellis said. I'll figure something out. The next 3 days were the longest of Ellis's life. He smuggled food into the hangar, created false maintenance logs to explain his extended hours, and researched everything he could about Verith politics. What he found made his blood run cold. Ayla's mate had been part of a secret faction that wanted to reveal the truth. The Verith-human war had been orchestrated by the Catheran Consortium, a megacorporation that profited from conflict. Both species had been manipulated into decades of bloodshed, while the Catherans sold weapons to both sides, and now they wanted Ayla and her children dead. On the 4th day, station security came knocking. We have reports of unauthorized Verith presence, the security chief said, a Bolian with calculating eyes. We need to search your hangar. Ellis stood in the doorway, arms crossed. Got a warrant? Don't need one. Station Regulation 7 Alpha, suspected security breach. Behind him, Ellis heard the faint whimper of one of the children. The security chief's eyes narrowed. Step aside, Ellis. No. The word hung in the air like a challenge. The security team reached for their weapons, and Ellis knew he'd made his choice. There was no going back now. You want them. Ellis said quietly. You'll have to go through me. The standoff lasted only seconds before the hangar's communication system crackled to life. Not just his system, every speaker on the station. This is Captain Zhang of the UHSV Perseverance. A woman's voice boomed. We are responding to a humanitarian crisis. Any station personnel interfering with the protection of refugees will be considered in violation of Treaty Article 14, Section 9. Stand down immediately. Ellis blinked. He hadn't called for help. Hadn't even thought it was possible. The security chief's face went purple, but he backed away. This isn't over. Yeah, it is, Ellis replied. 20 minutes later, Captain Zhang herself strode into the hangar, a gray-haired woman with the eyes of someone who'd seen too many wars. Behind her, a full security detail secured the perimeter. Mr. Ellis, she said, extending her hand. Your distress beacon was quite subtle. I didn't activate any beacon. Zhang smiled. didn't you? Funny thing about human mechanics, they always seem to have mysterious equipment failures that broadcast on emergency channels. Pure coincidence, I'm sure. Ellis realized his old NavCom unit, the one he'd been fixing for days, had been transmitting the whole time. His automated diagnostic logs had told the story. A Verith widow, children in danger, a human refusing to surrender them. What happens now? Ellis asked. Now? Jean looked at Ayla and her children, who emerged cautiously from the office. Now we do what humans do best. We take care of our own and everyone else who needs it. The Perseverance granted Ayla and her children full asylum. Within weeks, her mate's evidence went public. The K-Theron consortium collapsed under investigation. Trade routes reopened. The Verith Council issued an official apology and established the first human Verith cultural exchange program. And Ellis? He went back to fixing ships, but sometimes late at night, he'd receive messages from across the galaxy. Verith families thanking him. Former soldiers on both sides reaching out in friendship. His hangar became known as a safe haven, the place where the tide had turned. Because when a simple mechanic decided that compassion mattered more than politics, he reminded the galaxy of something they'd forgotten. Humanity's greatest strength was never their weapons or their ships. It was their unshakable refusal to abandon those in need, even their former enemies, especially their former enemies.